There's the mic. There we go. It took a freaking. This is my first time in a hot minute that I've actually done like a starting soon screen, and I apparently was not prepared to like. Oh, I need to go do this go live thing. I need to do this thing. It's the exact same problem that I had prior. The go live notification for the day. Also, hi, hello, VOD people. If you are seeing this, I hope you have a good day. Hello, welcome back. Hello, and thank you for the follow. Hi, hello, Lenny. Okay, I need to explain. This is like a half joke, half not. I have known them for a long while, and I like online adopt them. I am adoptive dad in a way. Joke dad. But yes. But no. But yes. It's gonna be an interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I've already spilled my coffee. I was making coffee. I have a Keurig. Like, it's a single and it's also a pot. You I did not, but that is a fun. I don't even imagine like a traditional birth. I imagine Mew, like the character. I just took like a piece of my soul and popped it into a little baby bat and went, "Yep, you're my son now." And that same here, but it is online a different game, and I am online adoptive mother. But pretty cool you adopted a child. Yeah. Not actually, but yeah. We have like a coffee, like a single and like a full pot coffee Keurig thing. And I was making this, and I'm chatting up with a friend and a cousin who's just hanging out. It's been a minute, and we're all chatting about. And as I'm making this, I have all the water in. I've turned it on. I put it in. The cup I have is too tall for it, so I have to take the thing out that like lets you have it closer. I took it out, and I was moving around doing stuff, and my brain's like half scattered. And I go back over to the area for some reason or another, and I'm like, why is this not in its spot? And I place it back, and I don't realize that I did. And I go over, I'm doing something, I'm like, I have a little milk frother, like a little handheld thing, so I'm doing that with the creamer, frothing it real quick, and I look over and I realize the cup is not under it. So about 2/3 of my coffee just went all over everywhere. Just everywhere. It spilled, it went straight down into the little, like, catch, but it overflowed the catch, and then it started overflowing everywhere. So I only got like 1/3 of what was there, and I just added some hot water and hoped. It's not too bad. It's still not as strong as I would like it, but that's still hot. That's lovely. That's fucking lovely. So that's great. That shows where my brain is today. I am on a roll. I am on a roll. Literally, I am ahead this week. I don't think ever in my entire career of streaming I have been ahead. I am currently ahead. So what's been happening the past couple weeks? I need to actually open up YouTube so I make sure I have my information right, because brain's scattered very, very much so. Very, very much. Oh, thank you, Nightbot. I did change up Nightbot as well. So the past week or two, I switched up a lot of what I've been doing. There was the horrible, we aren't going to talk about it, episode 12 of Passion SMP, where I tried this animation thing, and I don't even like it. I did not like doing that. And I burned myself out doing it in the first place. And that video ended up being posted very later than it was supposed to. And then, as part of a community challenge, we did the Amalgamation Hardcore series, where I just needed to defeat the Ender Dragon, and I fell in love with it. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this until I get it done. It ended up being 3 streams with 6 different runs. The last run I named after my mod Pumpkin, and it won, and it was also the craziest seed we had. I spawned in a triple ancient city. We proceeded to find countless ancient cities. Is warming up dead— oh, rats. Rats? Snakes. Why would a rat eat a dead mice? Well, snakes. My PS is ordering dead mice right now. Snakes! Cutie snakes! Scooby! I love that. I think Pumpkin used to have a bearded dragon they named Dragonite. It's adorable. I used to have 2 rats named Nova and Sunflower. I don't think I really have any pictures of them, but I think I might have one picture, because when I had them, I was really young. I barely had a tablet. It was like a $50 tablet. That was like a 6-inch thing that I got with allowance money. Probably because I was annoying the hell out of my parents. This is probably not a correlated thing at all. The way I remember I got my tablet, I specifically remember one morning I was so bored. I was doing the stereotypical, Hallmark movie, children's movie. I was sitting with my back on my bed, my feet up in the air, laid against my bunk bed, because of course it's a full, it's Queen the Twin bunk bed. So I have my feet up in the air, and I'm singing 99 bottles of rum on the wall, or whatever the fuck. And then I remember very shortly after that, I got my first tablet. I don't know if it was correlated at all, but I got $50 of allowance money or something, and we drove out a half hour or something to a little electronics store, and then I got my first tablet ever. And I still have the email I made with that tablet. That email is still the same YouTube account I use today. Not for Mutation CIP, but that is still my personal YouTube account, which I'm having problems with. My BF has a mini fridge for just snake mice and such, and on the door it says Scooby Snacks. Good stars. I'm having problems with my YouTube FYP. I haven't trusted a hot minute, but this has reinforced it. So, YouTube does not know what to give me, because I literally just watch the same creators over and over. And apparently my history is also broken, because if I go into my watch history right now, because I have it open, I can only scroll back to Sunday, and then it only thinks I've been watching shorts for some reason. It's showing, why are you showing, I literally just deleted all these. It literally thinks my only watch history is shorts right now. Oh, and nope, it catches back up in 2020. So it literally, in the very short span of scrolling, I go from Sunday to March 16th, where it thinks I've watched 2 videos that day, to February 19th, it shows a short, November 4th, 2025, February 8th, 2025, January 31st, 2024, July 6th, 2022, May 11th, 2022, and we're in 2022 for a bit, August 10th, 21, and then suddenly, December 31st, 2020, and very shortly after that, September 7th, 2020, it finally realizes that I've actually watched videos. And these are so old, it shows they're in my history. It doesn't actually recognize, you get the little red bar when you've watched something even a little bit, it doesn't recognize I have. So anything I've watched in the past little while, it's just nah, it's not there. You don't have a watch history of it. So my history's broken for some reason. Honestly, I'm very tempted to just clear all watch history and then go about my normal watching habits. Because currently what I do, because I do not trust my FYP, is I go up to whatever person I want to watch at the moment. Right now, it's been a lot of Markiplier. I will click on one of the videos that interest me that I think will get me down the correct rabbit hole I want. Say I want to watch some of his multiplayer content. I'll see whichever ones of the recommended either is a multiplayer content, and then I'll go down a rabbit hole. I'll click on the little sidebar underneath it, from Markiplier, and then go from there. And I just go down that. Because, yes, Markiplier videos. I'm so happy he has another golf video. For some reason, one of the random things, if I just need something in the background, I play the golf videos, which gives me actual live golf ads. And I'm I don't care about golf. I don't care about mini golf. I don't care about the golf championships. I don't care about your premium golf club. I want to watch 4 grown-ass adults fail at playing digital mini golf. But there's a reason I don't trust my FYP, and I'm gonna show you a video. It gets so bad, I have to click not interested in a majority of the things it tries to give me. It gets so bad that it literally offers me 2 videos. And we go through a cycle of this until it's like, well, fuck if I know. And then it stops giving me anything. But I have a lovely screenshot from today. Because I was going through this for an hour with a friend in the background. We had the Jeopardy theme playing. I found a Jeopardy 10-hour video, and we had that playing in the background along with silence interrupted by Pikmin. And for an hour we were doing this. Just slowly going through whatever this is. We're gonna put it up there. That seems fitting. I don't know what this is. I don't watch anything similar to this. You want to know what I watch? I watch Markiplier, a bunch of Hermitcraft people, Jacksepticeye, and a few other Minecraft YouTubers like Ratmade and such, Clown Pierce. That's it. That's all I watch. That's the only things I watch. I don't click on anything else. If I want to watch something different than gaming content, I use a different account because I don't want them crossing over. I want specific FYPs. Yeah, I've been getting into Jack more. I don't remember how I started that. I know how I started that loophole. I know how I started that. Pumpkin convinced me some years back to watch his Subnautica playthrough, and then I watched through all of that, and more recently I'm like, I don't feel like Markiplier right now. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna watch through a bunch of Jack shit. And so I've been here since. But that is it. I literally... Okay, this is a longer list than I thought. There is one... Wait. 2 fandom people that I am subscribed to. Worthy Kids, which is the creator of Big Top Burger, if you're unaware of that, is a funny-ass series, and it's great. And Rubber Ross are the only ones out of this area. I am on very specific islands of content. But for some reason, my FYP looks like that. That time I refreshed it, it only gave me 13 videos. Sometimes it doesn't even let me scroll. I can't. It gives me the 6, and I gotta pick from that. And I click not interested on every single one of these, or don't show me this channel, and it doesn't fucking work. I hate it. So yeah, I don't trust my FYP. I do not. I trust my FYP on other accounts. The account I actually use to post Mutation CIP videos, I use that account to actually watch stuff. I like the FYP I have on that. I can actually find new things that interest me. This one, no. YouTube literally has one job on this account, and it's to give me videos I've already watched, or videos by specific creators. That's literally all I want. I just want a shuffle of the videos that these people have made, and that is it. There is the subscriptions page, but it's only recent videos. Did I have that? Wait, I know Jack uploaded. Did I actually put that on my watch later, and I've just been ignoring it the entire day? I have 3 different things on my watch later. I've been ignoring them the entire day. Does it actually let you just shuffle through your subscriptions? No, it's just whatever's been posted recently. So I don't know. Thank you, Nightbot. All right. Lovely. So great. So great. So fantastic. So good. It's so good. Oh, right. Thank you, Nightbot. You reminded me. I changed around the emotes for chat. So follower emotes used to be a bunch of default ones. I changed them, so now when you are a follower, you have access to 5 or so of like the custom emotes I have made. What are we doing tonight? We are playing some MCCI Parkour Warrior, because I do want to get started doing something else, and that's what I'm going to be recording this week. I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow. I'll figure it out. We'll find something. Maybe I'll just do some random runs of Amalgamation. I don't know. MCCI is Minecraft Championship Island, so it's basically the public server for Minecraft Championships. You have to, like, I don't know if they've changed it since, because I joined this a while ago, But it used to be you have to go to their website and then put in a ticket with your Minecraft username, and then they'll let you know, okay, we've added you to whitelist, etc. And so you can play Parkour Warrior, which is one of the Minecraft Championship events, and I like it a lot. Because that's kind of there's like three things I like doing in Minecraft. It's build, fly, and parkour, I guess, if I can't do the first two. And technically, to get to the other side does have my flying, but I literally only want to fly. I do not care about the speedrunning. I don't care about any of that. It's why I love Terra Swoop Force. I don't care about the rest of that. I really don't. I just do not. So, we're gonna do Parkour Warrior, and I'm curious if I'm any better than I used to be, because we kind of somewhat went over this recently, kind of not really. A few months ago, I finally got to editing it, so it got posted this month on the Mewtwo channel, MU-TWO, on YouTube. I finally posted a supercut of me reacting to a bunch of my baby clips. And one of those that technically exists, actually, you can find the full VOD of this. One of my first videos on Mutation CIP is an animated highlights of me playing MCCI parkour. And by pure fucking chance, I'm pretty certain this is the first VOD up on Mewtwo. I'm gonna double check my information, but I'm pretty certain if I go to oldest, yes. 1 year ago, with 1 view, there is a video I have. You can set it to oldest, and it's literally the first result. And it's titled Parkour, but it's just parkour. And it's me failing at parkour for an hour. And I tried doing the hard version of when you're doing Parkour Warrior, there's a couple different courses you can go through, and you can do like the hard parkour, the easy parkour, etc. I'm trying to remember. I think you did show me this when I was on one of your streams before. Yeah. It's the I smacked my ass. Because of course it was. It smacked my ass. That's what happened. My ass weighed me down. And it has my favorite thing I've drawn ever. Like a Looney Tunes sitting cross-legged, one leg out, one leg over. And my ass is just a giant anvil. Or shaped like an anvil. Like I Looney Tunes swallowed one. What? Oh, it's on the homepage. That's why it's not playing anything. Play. There we go. I'm very curious if I've got... Oh, right. There are several different paths you can go on when you're playing Parkour Warrior. And when I was doing that, I'm like, I want to do the hard one. I'm going to try that out. And we did it for almost the entire hour of that. I finished the rest of the course in 10 minutes. And I spent the entire hour trying to do the hard part. Hello, Milo the Fox Fury. Doing good, thank you. We're going to talk about Parkour Warrior. I did this a while ago, like literally a year ago. I had a completely different character. Same username, different character. I spent an hour playing it. 10 minutes of that was the rest of the course. I spent an hour trying to do the... Oh, you can tell Minecraft has loaded because the stream lagged. I spent an hour trying to do the hard part of the course, the very final last stretch. Continuously failed. Never got better. It was getting late, so I gave up, and we did the medium one real quick, and I went to bed. I'm not sure if I went to bed after that. I'm pretty sure. I'm doing good, and I'm just trying a new show for me because I've never seen it. Nice! I need to actually get... I have shows saved. I've seen this as a thing. I've been getting into journaling and such. And some of the things I've seen is like a media journal. An ADHD brain is just all over the place. Like, I want to watch this thing. I want to do this. I just need to have like a media selection of like, you want to watch this thing. Don't forget that's what you want to do. It's an older show, but I've never seen it. Sometimes that's really good though. Sometimes they don't age well. They really don't age. I rewatched some Betty Boop cartoons. They did not age well. They did not at all. But sometimes they're good. Other times, it's like, if you watch something early 2000s, I'm absolutely stealing this from another piece of content I've seen. There's always got to be the ew gay joke, and then something mildly racist. Mew, my PC just crashed. Oh no! That's not good! You're right! What crashed it? I'm not surprised that one. I just started it as a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb and got 7 seasons. Ooh. You know, actually, when was Criminal Minds? Because that is aged mostly well. There's a few things. I only had Twitch open. Oh no. Did Minecraft lagging the stream crash your computer? It might be that exact moment. When was Criminal Minds release date? I want the original release. When was the original premiere? I was gonna play MCCI. We're still gonna do it eventually. I just want to see, when did they originally release Criminal Minds? Yeah, I know the premise. I know. I know. Whereas, am I actually on the right thing? What did I? Criminal. That is not the correct. I only typed criminal. Criminal Minds. There we go. September 22nd, 2005. Damn. Okay. And from 1992 to 96, and got 2 more seasons, one being in 2002 and another in 2006. Ooh. I think it did. Oh no. It's not even modded Minecraft. It's normal Minecraft. It's 1.21.6. Close tab. Close tab. My questions have been answered. I now must fail at parkour. Please load. It does. Do I still have... My screen is black. Do you want to allow public and private access to networks of this app? Yes, I will let Minecraft access my network. I'm fine with Minecraft doing that. MCC Island. Failed to connect to server. 1.21.11. Okay, apparently I have to use a different version of Minecraft. Nox crew. Why you gotta be particular? Why you gotta be so rude? Why you gotta be rude? Do not let Minecraft crash your PC just like it did with mine. Oh, you will find out. Pumpkin! Welcome back! After fighting it, I looked it up, and I also looked up a few other shows in that same category wheelhouse, and it said, like, if I like certain shows I, like, looked up, I would also like it. Hell yeah! It's nice when you find stuff like that. What version did I... 2111? We're on 26.1. I have not used the launcher in so long. Installations, that's what I need. MCCI. What? I could put it as a different icon. When we were gonna put it's gonna be TNT. 2111. 21. That's 21.2. Release 2111 ISO, maybe, perhaps. A big one being Disney's bear in a big blue house. Yes! Apparently that broke my VTuber. Yes. You know what? I need to look this up. Hold on. So what I've been using to find a lot of older shows, especially like a little more lost media or niche media that Netflix randomly had and for some reason I was obsessed with as a kid. Like, anybody remember Slugterra? Anyone remember Slugterra? It was the big comfy couch. I don't know that one, actually. I need to check it out then. Because I remember loving Big Bear in the Big Blue House. Slugterra was one of those. Yes, Slugterra! You can find movie versions of, like, the series on Tubi. Tubi. Yeah, it was on Netflix for a while. It's kind of out of order. You can look up online and figure out the order of what the movies are supposed to be. I think I have a screenshot somewhere on my computer of like a Reddit thread of it. I want to see, do they have Big Bear? Big Bear in the Big Blue House. They have strawberry shortcake berry in the big city. Oh, there's big comfy couch literally right there, the second result. Okay, cool. There are so many. There's Julius Jr. It's giving me a lot of interesting results. Tubi is fantastic for finding, like, niche stuff, by the way. You have Gumby! Oh my god, you have Gumby! Oh! Nice. Okay, cool. Also, you can find a lot of old cartoons on here as well. So I have Pink Panther, 2 different Pink Panther saved. The Pink Panther, and then Pink Panther and Pals. There's the original Garfield and Friends, and then there's also the Garfield show you can find on there. The Pebble and the Penguin's another good one. There's a bunch of these I have saved that I just need to sit down and watch. As Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, if you like some older cartoons. It has Betty Boop, which I mentioned earlier, and then also Popeye is here somewhere, I think. Oh, and the Super Mario Bros. Super Show is here. Also, I haven't ever watched this, but I just thought it was funnier than all hell, and I had to save it. I have no idea what the show is. The thumbnail just had me dying laughing. And it's a show called Forensic Files. And the subtitle, the caption they chose for this beautiful show is no witnesses, no leads, no problem. Oh yeah, Last Unicorn's here. There's the Last Unicorn as well. I forgot how I got into Strawberry Shortcake though. So what do you think after looking at Big Comfy Couch? I'm not sure. It looks interesting at a glance. Immediately, I didn't actually watch it as a kid, but it makes me think of, it was Strange Town? Is that what they call that show? I only remember the crazy ass guy, the blue guy with the mustache. Strange Town? Crazy Town? I just typed in Strange Crazy. Strange Town. Kids show. Is it Strange Town? Lazy Town. I'm thinking of Lazy Town. It's one of those. It's an adjective town. It's an adjective town. Alright, well, actually let me get into MCCI this time. Yes, do I have the right skin, just so I don't have to immediately go out of gameplay? Lazy Town, yes. Do I have the correct skin? It seems to be. I will accept this. Okay. We can finally, actually, half hour in, move into gameplay. Apparently, I have messed up some things over here. So we are going to move things ever so slightly, because I've been moving a lot of stuff around, a bunch. We're going to put you right about there. I am semi-coherent. Cold meds for the win. Oh no. Oh no. What? There we go. There we go. Okay, I literally just want to go play parkour to get to the other side. Parkour Warrior. I forgot about my coffee. Hold on. It's really watered down, but it's still coffee, so it's decaf. I cannot have caffeine. This bonk. Nice. Okay. Yep. If I fail, I'm gonna blame it on the fact I haven't touched Minecraft in several days. I've been doing other shit. Oh, I mentioned this earlier. I'm ahead of schedule for once. And it's a miracle. The past week or two has been... this is a perfect topic for me doing parkour. It kind of reminds me of Minecraft Bedrock for some reason. I think Nox Crew did get started on Bedrock. They're the, like, they're halfway the co-creators of MCCI, because I think it's Scott Major that's one of the main creators of it, right? AKA, dang, that's a long name. Because of course that's his username. I'm finally ahead of schedule, because the past week or so, we did hardcore amalgamation where I had to beat the Ender Dragon. That was the end goal. And okay, good. And we did 3 different streams of that, and that ended up being a week and a half of videos. because I ended up just taking each stream into one separate kind of mini video and just doing a supercut of that when I'd usually take all 3 of them into one video. I probably didn't need to jump in that way, but... Oh, cool. We did it anyway. Yip, 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 yip. Oh, cool stuff. Well, exact same problem. Huh. I have learned! Yep. Nice. +1. Well. I feel like watching parkour videos with random rambles feels like scrolling YT shorts. That's fair, honestly. These are retextured trapdoors. I see that. That's a retextured trapdoor. I'm going the wrong way. Nice. I'm gonna do all the bonus paths, by the way. This is how I Duolingo. This is how I fill out the time. I ended up separating that out into 3 different mini videos that went up Sunday and Wednesdays. And so we got through all of that, and then I had that is not a block of water. And then, I can't remember what was this Sunday's video. I do not remember. What? 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 What is the intended purpose here? Is this not my intended route? I have a feeling my intended route's right there. I went to zoom and I cannot zoom. That is not my intended route. I don't think this is what I meant to do, but this is what I'm doing. Well. I absolutely do think this is what I need to do, but this is what I do. It might actually just be the thing I need to do, but I don't know. It is meant to be the easy path, but it does lack the direction to make it easy. Anything's hard if you don't know what you're supposed to do. Anyway, I'm ahead of schedule. I got Sunday's video finished. I got Wednesday's video posted. Oh, that's what was last Sunday's video. It was the last part. It was the last part of the hardcore series, and then there was a side video that went up on Mewtwo that was the Castle Crashers thing, I think? And the Castle Crashers supercut from, like, January, when I played the DLC with, I didn't even realize what I was supposed to do for a second. I played the DLC with Andy and Misty. So not any better. Noted. Okay, cool. Brain is, mostly intact. I swear if I was gonna miss that last jump. And I thought it was for a second. I tried to scroll. Oh no, Pumpkin. Me every day. Fair. I already finished actually editing the video for Sunday. It's literally scheduled. It's been scheduled since like, I think literally Thursday or Wednesday. It might have been, I might have finished it Wednesday. I don't remember. But I know it's been scheduled since at least Thursday, because I think I still had to do a lantern. I still had to do a lantern? I still had to do a thumbnail. That's the word I want. The plot of The Big Comfy Couch is a Canadian children's series following Lunette the clown and her doll Molly, who solve daily life lessons and childhood problems while living on a large couch. Each episode features playtime, clock rug, exercises. Clock rug! Okay, I know that. I know the clock rug. I don't remember where from, but I know that. Visits with family neighbors, and a 10-second tidy to clean up messes. That's nice. I might have to trick my nephew into watching that with me. I've been able to trick him into watching and trying out a few things. This is like a 5-year-old. The This needs momentum. Okay, great. I need to shut my non-existent trap for like 2 seconds because Mew does not have a jaw and has not since I first created him. I love my lack of depth perception there. Oh my god. The one thing. The plot, he said Britishly. The plot. I don't even know how I said it. I don't know. Accents come and go. They are Cotton Eye Joe. The one thing that could absolutely screw me over at any given chance is my depth perception. Because it is not there. I can look at like a floor and wall 2 feet away from me. It looks flat. I don't know what to tell you. Brain does not comprehend shadows like it should. I probably just need to actually schedule my fucking eye doctor appointment. Because I haven't done that. Usually I would have had the appointment by now and had my new glasses. I have not had new glasses since last year. You should reasonably redo your glasses appointment every year and make sure you have the correct prescription you need. I have no clue what I need, and my eyes get worse every year. I am currently at like a -5. That is not good. This is in 0.25 intervals. This is in quarter intervals, so that's 20 more intervals than the average person should probably have if you have 20/20. Yeah, you just need momentum for that one. Okay, cool. This is the same with me in accents that I have, and that is either my light Southern Texan accent or my British accent or Latin accent. I forgot all my Latin accents. I literally didn't care that I'm watching it and I'm in high school. That's fair. I have like a weird bar for what I'm willing to watch as a show. I don't know. I think I just make it up as I go. Because I don't feel like that'd be especially useful to me. It might be with like some certain exercises. Like one of the shows I have sitting off to the side that I kind of want to watch, but I'm not really particularly interested in finishing it, is the original Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. AKA, this is like one of the first shows they actually had for Sonic, where Eggman was still very much so Eggman. He had the black scleras, the back of his eyes. He had the black scleras and the red ring eyes still, and he was way less than human, and his mom was literally him, but in a dress. And I don't think it was the same voice actor. And this was also like a kind of meeting story for Tails. And Tails was still brown, a brown fox, and not the orange thing we have now. Granted, I do like his new designs. The main thing, as long as you're yourself, then that's what matters the most. That's fair. I forgot he's his own mom. Yes, he is. It's literally just the same exact design, but they put a pink dress and a wide brim hat with a flower on top. She doesn't have hair either. She has the exact same mustache, exact same face. Can I say something so heinous? Parent issues. Different messages, different people. On point. They also have doodle bops on here too. Okay, what is the heinous thing while I struggle with my depth perception? I am sprinting. I promise I am. I forgot about my coffee. Can you tell I have ADHD and that the meds are in fact wearing off? Because this is about the time they should wear off. And this is about just the correct time for them to do so, which is part of why I schedule stream at this time, so I could at least get the motivation to get myself to stream in the first place. Old-fashioned MPreg before it went mainstream. Yes, because I have it too. I can tell, and I do not have ADHD meds. I'm very lucky that I am able to, and I can consistently be able to do so. I am very happy to be medicated. This is like the personal metaphor I've used for it. I feel like when I'm on my ADHD meds, I feel like a vinaigrette. I have my emulsifier. When I do not have my ADHD meds, I am a vinaigrette without the honey. It's just the vinegar and the apple cider vinegar or whatever else it's the vinegar and the oil just sitting there, and they do not work together. My consciousness and like what I actually do not align. The ADHD meds is the honey that makes all of it actually work and stay together. And I think that's probably the best metaphor I have for my ADHD. Sadly, I have to get new ADHD meds. Ooh. I got really freaking lucky that the first ones I tried, my brother had the same ones before, and they happened to work for me. And then I'm like, hey, these are short release. I kind of like taking them once a day. I don't want to take them twice a day. Can we just try out the long release? And the exact same med had a long release version. And so I'm on that now, and it's perfect. Because I can't have the ways I have. Ooh. I'm very lucky that it's not too expensive either. At least compared to other meds. There is like the slight downside, ADHD med, you can't, because it's a controlled substance, you can't have it like mail delivered. Because a lot of meds you can have mail delivered at this point in life, in modern life, and technologize. That one you can't, so we have to deal with picking it up every month, but I meant to say I can't have the ones I have. Ah. Yeah, that makes that makes a little bit more sense. Okay. Yeah, but okay, what are we gonna do? We fail at this part every time. Watch me fail this jump anyway. And we're just gonna take it slow. Tortoise and hare. We got it. My ADHD meds are raw dog and light. Your ADHD meds are coffee. That's how I figured I was on a bad dose of ADHD meds. I surprisingly on a really low one. But the first dose I had was so low, I'm like, wait a second, this helps. And I wanted to experiment, and I'm like, does a pot of coffee still help me more? It did. I literally had 2.5 cups of coffee, and it did more for me than the meds. So I'm like, okay. It's like a perfect miss. Why is it a perfect miss? I'm on a because sadly I have alpha Gale. I don't know that one. I'm on a rigmarole with about 7 sneezes of cheese in my texture. Thank you, mouse, for doing the thing you do. This is the correct way, right? There's no other way forward. This is the correctimum way. Do I need to be all the way back here? What do you mean? You should have looked that up because it's horrible to have. Oh no. I'll check it out when I can. Not being able to taste things of how congested I am is weird. Consider trying a ghost pepper. Yep. Thought train, by the way. I have a little poll going up on YouTube right now, but it seems to be overwhelming yes. I think I'm gonna be looking into the next week, doing dual streaming for this. So we'll also have a YouTube chat up and going on. VODs will still go up to like the second channel, but I hit my head. But then we'll be dual streaming. Yeah. So it's a little more accessible. And I forgot my favorite bean and rice dish that Liam would be proud of with cheese. And was disappointed. Oh. Dual streaming is definitely going to help out help you out, I feel. It's not going to help me out with reading, apparently. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I'm hoping what I have set up right now is I have my game on my main monitor, and then OBS is off to my right, so when I look over here, I'm looking to you guys. I should probably... Maybe I should switch Mew, or like, flip him, so when I'm looking to you guys, it's looking in the center and not off to the side. I said you should, because if you get it, it makes you not be able to eat much. Ooh. That was actually helpful for me, because I had like a huge problem with insane hunger spikes. So being on ADHD meds maybe helped me consistently eating, as well as not overeating. along with learning better portions. Which mainly for me is, I got really lucky. I got some of my she's not dead. I got some of my grandma's, like, little Chinese bowls that you'd expect in literally any Chinese restaurant ever. I have a bunch of those tiny ones that are meant for, like, side dishes, and I use those religiously for my main meal so I don't overeat. Because brain goes, oh, the bowl is overflowing and full, so when you finish this small bowl, it is perfect. You have the perfect amount of food. You are full. You finish that entire overflowed bowl, even if it's a small one. So, when no portion understand, pick small plate or small bowl, portion much easier to learn. ADHD meds can help regulate or just completely dysregulate your eating habits. I was very lucky. My ADHD is largely expressed with extreme executive dysfunction. So I gotta... What am I supposed to do there? So what do you think? So no dairy and no red... Oh, you can't eat a lot of dairy and red meat. Was that... No, I really like steak. That would affect me. Luckily, I'm just on generic-ass brand Ritalin. But yeah, that does sound like it absolutely sucks. Especially because, granted, I don't eat dairy out of choice just because I hate the taste of dairy. I've just not ever really liked dairy. I'm very happy with my oat milk. I was on almond milk for a while, and then I was working in a milk and tea job, and I tried oat milk, because it was one of the things meant for a drink we had. And then I realized how much I loved oat milk, and now that's what I always use. I have oat milk creamer in my coffee. And if you get a bad or allergic reaction, you have to get stabbed with an EpiPen. Ooh. Look at all... I was talking about this earlier this week, actually. I'm a unreasonably lucky mofo. Because anything I have that is like a restricted thing, it's either something I don't personally like or I'm a little picky about, or it's far from unbearable. Like, with the ADHD meds I can't really do caffeine, so I just feel like a slight asshole ordering my iced decaf caramel macchiato. Because that's the easiest way to order a caramel coffee that's iced. You please, when you do that jump, please look slightly up. This jump. Do I need to be down here? Is this my problem? Am I supposed to go up above? I don't think I can make that one. The one you keep failing. Look what up. The med name? Because I feel like that would be... I've got to hit my head again. I can't. Oh, almost. Almost. I'm going to assume that is what I need to do. Yes. Fantastic. That is mostly just with creamer. At least, like, it's a good Italian creamer, but that is mostly just my creamer. It's not a bad thing. It's just, like, I put an espresso in 16 ounces of creamer, though. And not even a strong espresso. It's like a weak pull. That's a drink. It's perfectly on the scale of neutral. Also, you want to know what sucks more? It's different for everybody. You can't have rosemary extract because they run it through memo stuff. Jeez. I actually use rosemary extract a surprising amount. It's what I go to for hair products. Because it's like somewhat bogus, somewhat not. I really like just the smell of it, period. But supposedly it helps with hair growth. It also helps if you're like actually stimulating your scalp and making sure. 20 minutes! And we got here. So, twice as long as the last time I did this. Technically, I think that was the first time. How long is it going to take for me to do this, though? That is the question. I want to do the hard route. I want to know. And sadly, that's in everything. Ooh. That sounds almost like, that wasn't even a jump. That was just the jump to get onto the jump. What? Oh, you. Okay. Roblox has taught me this one. After you get done with this, you look it up. Yeah. I'll try to remember so I can look back through. But that sounds a lot like, celiacs or like gluten intolerance to me. Or like the same kind of restrictions and lifestyle it forces you into. Because it's bad as I'm saying it is. Ooh. This is gonna sound like a weird thing out of context. It reminds me of how my mom has to eat a lot. Because she's an oddly picky eater. And just has a lot of struggle with a lot of different foods. So I think she's like one step away from being what's called a super eater or something to that extent. I can't remember this specific wording for it, but she's a step away from being a super taster, which has a specific set of qualifications for your like taste palette. And the only reason she can't and isn't considered that is because she likes broccoli. Because she can't really do pastas, is not a fan of fish, and quite a few veggies. Or not veggies. There's a few other things I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. Of course you can get it from a tick. Oh no. Oh, it's only 3 of these? 4? 4. I say, as I can't get past the second one. I think this is more my brain telling me, okay, if I make it past the second one, I'm 50% of the way there. I can't even make it 25% of the way. Yep. Well. Wells. Bodies of water. Also, it can mix with sickness really easily, and you can have random ways where you don't feel good at all. Ooh. Yeah, that is definitely not a good med. That does not sound good at all. Like, I can understand if it's, like, extremely helpful with ADHD symptoms, but that just sounds like the list of a birth control pill or, like, birth control effects. That sounds like the frickin' magazine Zine. The essay they have to hand you of all the side effects. I need to sprint around this, that's the problem. I don't have not motivation. Momentum to get around that. I think that's how I'm struggling here. Yep. Almost. I had the momentum. I just need to get my little claws on the corner. I need to stop smacking my ass in the rock. That is... Yeah. That literally just tastes like... That's just creamer. That is just creamer. I'm not sure how to feel about that. I like my oat milk. I don't know if I like it that much. I need it. Where's my water? Which water? This water I'm using. I got 2 water bottles recently. I don't know. Have I mentioned that on the streams? I don't know if I have. This needs to go behind me. Trash can. Go back in the trash can. Okay. I got 2 water bottles recently, so I've been able to switch back and forth between them a lot. So now I just always have nice ice cold water. It is fantastic. I never have to wait for it to get ice cold. I just switch back and forth between the bottles. When I finish it, I refill it and I move on to the next one. Or if I know like I'm gonna go to bed and I just finished one, I'll move on to the next one. I won't refill it, and then I'll refill both in the morning or whichever one I need to wash. Because I'll switch back and forth each day which one I'm washing. What do you think of it? It sounds like a pretty... There sounds more downsides than any actual upsides, especially considering there's probably cheaper options that don't have as many side effects. Because what I understand traditionally of ADHD meds is the expected side effects are either like typical allergic reactions, which is expected with anything, and a shakiness or headaches and heart palpitations. But that sounds like that just sounds like celiacs or gluten intolerance side effect, like, which are just flat out diseases and not a medication that is supposed to help you. Yeah, are both of those overlapping? Are both those nightbots overlapping? Yes, we have the emotes. Did I make those overlap by accident? Maybe. Perhaps, mayhaps. I might have. No. I could feel my fingertips fall. They glanced over the rock. So what do you think of Alpha Gale? I just said it. I don't think it's actually quite where... Okay, a lot of these Nightbots are overlapping. I need to fix that. Hold on, we need to fix that. Why are all of you over... Is it just the perfect time for them to overlap? Is it just the correct time for it? Because that is literally all four of them that I have. Is this literally the exact moment they all overlap, an hour in? Yes, yes it is. It is the one time all four overlap, because I have one set for 20 minutes, one set for 10 minutes, one set for 15, and another for 30. So all of them overlap at this exact moment. I'm just going to go in and add one more minute to each of them. So there are like, I'm going to add 2 minutes to that one. We'll add, well, I'll take one over. Yeah, you could stay at 15. And you're going to be 33. Okay. So now none of them should overlap. Unless I stream a ridiculously long time. So hopefully that's a wee bit better. Let's change this one to be 19 instead of 11 minutes. Or actually, no. I want that on 11. That's the follow reminder. Yeah, double. Minecraft. Thank you. Oh, just in time to see somebody else fall. Hello. I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. That is what happens when you do that. Yes, I know. All the notifications. All off. Gone. Be gone with ye. Be gone. Goodbye. Do not disturb. Thank you. Do not disturb me. There's also things in the big comfy couch that live under the big comfy couch. I wasn't even looking. That's cool. Never mind. Is that an Alex skin? No. Fuck. I forget. Okay, hold on. I'm switching headphones. Because this is annoying. There we go. So the current headphones I have, I've talked about this on and off. The current headphones I have like a nice pair of over-ear headphones that are like not in your ear. They sit right outside of it. But because of the way they have made these, the charging port is on the inside of the headphones on the right-hand side. And it is a magnetic one. So when it's being used, obviously it's a little freaking battery-powered Bluetooth thing. It's gonna heat up. So it heats up the magnets. And it burns the side of my face. And so the entire time I've been like on and off scratching at this thing, and it's to a point where I know if I wear these any longer, one, it's going to irritate the hell out of me even more than I currently am from it. And two, I might actually just scratch it open again, because I have scratched it open bloody. And it is not fun. I do have a burn cream to help with this, because like 2-3 years ago I had the same problem with a pair of glasses I owned. Because they were tight enough to my face, it burned the sides of my face, because it was that hot of a summer. I might have to put some of that burn cream on again. But I just need to get a new pair of headphones. I have one picked out. I have a pair of headphones picked out that are also over ear, but I made sure they do not have the charging port in the inside of the headphones. It's not a freaking magnetic stupidness. I just need to sit down and actually convince myself to buy the $40 headphones, because it will be a good investment that no longer hurts me. Also, it'll be smaller and more comfortable. These ones, I love them dearly. I've had them for 2 years now, so they've had good use despite burning the side of my face the entire time. They're one of the wraparound ones. So they're ever so slightly inconvenient yet convenient, because when I don't want to wear them because they're burning the side of my face, I can just loop them around my neck. They just sit around my neck like a comfy little thing. I don't have to worry about them getting crushed in my bag, because if I want them but I don't need to immediately use them, then they just sit around my neck like a cool little accessory. And the ones I'm looking at are just like typical earbuds in a little case, but they just hook around the outside of your ear like an ear cuff would. And I just need to go buy. I just need to buy them. I just need to sit down and buy them, because it would be a genuinely good investment, and I just need to do that. And I need to buy more of my coffee, because I am almost at my coffee. I don't drink a lot of it anymore. I could absolutely live without it. Yeah, so can I tell you something I think is really impressive? What is? What do you think is impressive? Oh. Why? Whoa! Please! Can I know the finger movements okay, hold on. We're gonna treat this like Roblox. I know the finger movements I need to do this on Roblox. I do not know the finger movements I need to do this on Minecraft, so we're just gonna treat this like Roblox. Welcome to the weirdest parkour you have ever seen. Who does this in third person? Roblox plays, that's who. I haven't touched it in a minute. I'm actually pretty happy of that fact. I've been playing way too much Skyrim instead. I really want to bring back Skyrim Variety Wednesdays. I want to do a Skyrim Variety Wednesday with you guys and actually have... I think the last time I was doing... We did a stream a while back. I didn't save it. I was going to do a short video on it. I didn't, because I forgot to save the VOD and then it was way too late. What I think is impressive is when characters get their own shows and movies and games and stuff, and they still exist. They still exist use after their decline started existing. Like a big example of this is Rabbits from Rayman Legend. Even though their decline has been going on for years, they still exist after everything, which is very impressive. Yeah, I think... I know there's like a lot of weird, odd examples of that. Like the first thing that comes to mind was like Cleveland from Family Guy had his own show for a little bit. It's kind of interesting when they gain their own traction from something else. I do not like that Velma had her own focus show, because it was just not a good show, period. It would have been interesting to have her particularly as a main character, but as like the Velma we know. Another big example is Annoying Orange. I'm lucky that I didn't actually watch that. A lot of the popular shows that people are like, oh my god, I can't believe everybody liked that when we were such and such age. For some reason, I just avoided like all of them. I think the only one I came close to actually like watching, or I even watched a little bit of it, was a tiny bit of SpongeBob here and there if it happened to be on. I think I did watch it a lot as a kid though. And I think iCarly, although that's not one people go like, oh my god, I can't believe we like that. That's more of a, that's a pretty decent one to still like after a while. Some age really well, some don't. I think Avatar The Last Airbender aged pretty well. Some of them seriously do, some of them don't. They just do not. We still have not gotten past 50%. I am prepared to sit here for another hour. Oop. Nope. Okay. Also, did you know that the same creator of a couple of the same creators of Uncle Grandpa are some of the same creators as Cartoon Network's Secret Mountain Ford? Awesome. I didn't actually watch Uncle Grandpa. I missed a lot of the popular shows. For some reason, I'm just a person where if there's this popular thing happening, no clue what it is. I did not know that The Secret of the Mimic was a canonical FNAF fan game until the day it was released and people started playing it. I genuinely thought I saw like somebody memeing over this fan song of it, and that's all I saw of it. I assumed it was a fan game. Completely, absolutely assumed it was some fan game, because all I saw was a screenshot of the stupid clown and I thought it was just like a sister location fan game. Full-heartedly. If there's a popular thing going on now, I guarantee you the only thing I know about it is some random person I follow on Tumblr, or maybe Blue Sky, has reposted one thing about it, and that's the only thing I've seen. Like, it's made like by the same people as Owl House. There's a show that was happening. It's robot related. I don't know what name is, but I know it's popular. The pilot alone. But I only know it exists. Has it stopped my Minecraft parodies? It has stopped my Minecraft parodies. Play my Minecraft parodies, please. YouTube Music, play my Minecraft parodies. Thank you, YouTube Music. Secret Mountain Fort Awesome was around the same time as another information no one needs to be reminded of ever existing. I do not know of either of those. I've been playing too much Skyrim. My finger went down to X, which in Skyrim is my quick save button. I've been playing too much Skyrim. Way too much, apparently. For that to be muscle memory when I move to a parkour moment. I'm just gonna drink my water. I'm just gonna drink my water, and we're gonna carry on. We're gonna live, laugh, love, and carry on. I'm not sure if I'm doing even better at all in third person or not. Like, I know I immediately did better that first time, but I don't think I have since. All I need to say is nobody needs to be reminded of Cartoon Network problem solvers ever. Okay. I am not aware of that one either. The only popular things I am aware of are just like Dora and SpongeBob. I could not tell you what is currently popular at all. Is The Bachelor still going on? Is that still happening? Also, I never watched it, I just know it exists. 25%! 25%! This is a milestone! As far as I'm considered. Nope, I shouldn't have tried that. Would that be better for me? I can't do it on this side, though. So it'd be better for me to stay consistent and get really good at that? Oh. It hurts. Would it help to take my time more? Would it help to do that? To make sure I get all the way to the edge of the block and no. Would it hold on. I wanna experiment. I wanna see. No. All I have to say is it looks like the creators made it only because they were high, because it's one of those shows that they thought it was a good idea to stick 10,000 colors in 10,000 random assortment of things, slap it together for a sitting, made one of the characters a weird brown human-looking character that made one an actual human, and made one a fish human, gave them weird names, and basically made them into a trio that would solve problems. Interesting. It sounds like a show. It is a show. If it was not bankrolled by Cartoon Network, I do not think it would have gotten a view on the pilot at all. And then said good. Oh, come on. It's almost there. Nope. Is this on shuffle? I did not put it on shuffle. I'm gonna put it on shuffle. Thank you, Shadow the Hedgehog, for showing up immediately after the shuffle. Oh no, it did it because it existed for a whole nother season. Ah, great. It's always the shows that don't deserve it that get another season. It always is, somehow. But we can't have the shows that people genuinely wanted to have another season. No, no, no. You dare hint that two girls actually may like each other, and yeah, no. Season 3's not happening anymore. How dare you have a good plot with complex characters? that actually show your audience. Don't you know you're supposed to have the 3 guys and 1 girl that are all straight and all 3 guys want the girl for some reason and the girl doesn't care? And then it ends up with the lead main character anyway. Don't you know that's your plot? That is the show. Also, one of the boys has to be maybe not liking her. 2 of the boys like her, and she ends up with the main character, and one of the 3 main characters, main boys of the cast, has to be her brother. I don't know, when I'm talking, I always, for some reason, I will mix up pronouns, not even in a, like, misgendering way, but because I mix up who I'm talking about as I'm talking about it. Because I'll try saying her sister when I mean her brother, because I'm thinking her as in herself as her sister. We can be glad it's not that. Yeah. Isn't that... Wait. That is just the plot. That is technically the plot for the last Avatar. Or the last Airbender, whatever it is. Titles are not my forte. Seeing real, what a nightmare. Although some shows I look at as a child, I'm like, why did I like this? Like, this is definitely something you have to sit in a Discord call to watch with friends. I need to do this, I can do that. I have the physical I can do that. I need to do that. I have a movie that apparently, I didn't even know it had a part 1. I completely forgot that was a part of it. I have a movie that was randomly on Netflix, and apparently you can find a DVD copy of this. And there's a movie out there called Mummy, apostrophe, I'm a Zombie. And apparently there is also a prequel of a similar title. What is the prequel name? What is this? What is? Mummy, I'm a Zombie. What is the prequel for you? Because at the beginning of Mummy, I'm a Zombie, it plays like a flashback of the previous movie, series, whatever. Spanish! Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. It's a Spanish film. That makes so much more sense for what was going on there. For an idea of what this could possibly be, it has a 32% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 4.6 out of 10 on IMDb. You can watch it for free on Prime Video. The original is Daddy, I'm a Zombie. So I should have expected that. It is a show. It's made early into, when is this? It's 2014. So it was early into when CGI was starting to be stylized. It's stylized? Think of like a super exaggerated 2D cartoon and put it in 3D. And that is this movie. Literally, they took the 2D concepts, the 2D exaggerated concepts, and made them 3D models, and that is what the movie is made of. It's a movie. I don't know what else to say there. It's a movie that exists. It's there. It is there. Also, congratulations for the Annoying Orange Show and Problem Solvers both not being the worst Cartoon Network show ever made. They're actually tied for the second most worst Cartoon Network show ever. The honor goes to Reanimated, which is known as Out of Jimmy's Head. I don't think I know that one either. Thank you, Nightbot. How long are we've been here for 25 minutes, so I've already been here for the same amount of time I did everything else. You should look it up because it's a show and a movie and it's something. It sounds like it. What? Nope. Like, it is recognizing my jumps, right? Yeah. 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 Not enough momentum. I just did not have momentum that time at all. I will give up if we hit another 20 minutes. Actually, you know, we'll put this to the line. In another half hour, then I will give up. That is still another half hour failing, though. Okay. We've made it 25%. We still have most of it to go, but we have done better than we have done in the past while. Never mind. Villager bit done. I have made it 50%. This is the farthest we've made it. The best way I could describe the plot, or whatever headache I got from trying to read half of the plot, anyways, is some kid has to go to the hospital to get a brain surgery or some type of surgery on his head or whatever because of a freak accident. So after he wakes up, he can see animated cartoons. Animated cartoons come to life through his brain, and he can see them exist in front of him, around him when he's at school or whatever. That sounds like Psychonauts and whatever that imaginary friend, whatever the imaginary friends orphanage thing was. I don't think Psychonauts would have been out at that time, though. Maybe Psychonauts is a little old. I think it is. That's like Castle Crashers era. Castle Crashers is older than you'd think, but. I was hoping Villager would work. It did not. Yeah. This is the most I've talked in like months. Not because of streaming, but because I've been talking all day. I was hanging out with my best friend, who I refer to as Sugar Cookie on the channel. I was hanging out with her yesterday and today. And I had breaks of silence in between them because we hung out for a little bit. She had to go do something. And then we hung out, had a sleepover the night. She had to go do something. And then we hung out until I had a stream. And we've been laughing our asses off to various things. We're both ADHD, so we're both going off the walls of whatever topic comes up at the time and following the train. And each taking our own turns to do yap sessions about whatever we're hyperfixated on or want to currently info dump on. So my voice hoarse. I don't know how I'm gonna stream tomorrow, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It's not only time a concept like that got tried, and I do need again, because they got tried, and it said come again later on by Disney, obviously, and that was more like it got a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb, and a lot of people are upset it didn't get to finish, but the whole show of Kirby's Buckets is a kid's drawing, and stuff comes to life after meeting his favorite animator, and a drawing of his getting into the show after winning a competition to be picked for a new character. And the creator and him and two of his friends can see the characters come to life from his drawings, and they have adventures and stuff with them. Interesting, but I don't think that deserves more seasons. Like, I get it if people are attached to characters and such, but like, unless they had a plot they were following, if they were just like random adventures, Billy has some bully at school, then I don't see why. I don't see why they would add on more to that. No. How does one? That is not how. How does one? Almost. I wish I could lock the rotation of this. Just truly be playing Roblox so I can just go, whoop. I could kind of do that, but I wouldn't have the momentum then. I don't have the momentum anyway. My cat. I have my cat Dusty next to me. You little cat tree. Yeah. You happy dude. He's been very happy lately. We've had a nice streak. And the other day, there are currently indoor cats. This has started because we got my grandma's cat Jenny. She moved in with us. The cat, not my grandma. The grandma has moved in with my aunt, and so we ended up with a cat. And grandma wanted Jenny to be an indoor cat. So the rest of the cats got moved to indoor. And my cat Dusty took it the hardest because he is a very extremely playful kitty with high energy, despite being, I think he's close to 8 years old now? I think that's right. He should be about 8 or 9 now. Hold on. I can literally pull up the date I got him, basically, because I have photos from that. Dusty, when was this baby photo? April 26, 2017. You're 9? Oh, my baby. He's 9. I don't want to think about that. You're gonna be double digits next year. Oh. Oh. You look like an old man. He's not scruffy yet, but he's curled up like an old cat right now. He's got the little eyes, like, I'm tired. I just want to sleep the rest of the day. Which I certainly hope he fucking does. This little butthead, this fluff butt. Okay, pause so I can rage about my cat. So this fluff butt, after getting them all indoor, I thought it'd be a good idea to, like, I spitballed it for a while, but then I actually fully went out and bought him a cat harness and leash. And so the past several days, it's finally been really nice out. We had the warmest day so far, like Thursday. And so I was outside with him for an hour and a half. I actually got sunburnt on the back of my neck. I was outside in the backyard. We're lucky to have a decent backyard, and he loves going through it. And I stayed out there with him for an hour and a half, slowly going around. And this was not a long leash either. This is like a little bungee cord, maybe 2 feet long leash. And so we also did this yesterday for about a half hour or so, because I wanted to get him out of the house again. Because Thursday night, for the first time in a while, he finally let me sleep through the night. He just woke me up at once at 4 a.m., which is far better than what he's been doing. I will happily take one wake-up call at 4 a.m. This freaking cat. Thursday, I was outside. I took him on, sat around with him, and I wanted to just sit down for a bit because I had come back from hanging out at Sugar Cookie. We'd done a short bike ride, and my legs were still a little jelly. It's been a while since I'd done a bike ride. Even if it was just a short one, we barely did a mile. It was just off to a cafe and then back. We hung out, had some coffee, we chillaxed there for quite a bit before we came back. It was fine. It's not even like extreme hills or anything, it's mostly flat plains. So it was fine, it was chill, but legs a little tired. I just want to sit. And I was sitting there with Dusty, he's roaming around, he's like, I want to go this way. I want to go that way. You won't let me go where I want to. And in his way of pouting, he decided the best place to be, because I'm still holding the leash, the best place to be was to sit directly in front of me and just pout back there. And my mom's tending to the garden, she's like, you know what you should get for him? You should get one of like those dog retractable leashes. I'm like, you know what? That's actually a great idea. So guess what showed up today? I genuinely got him a dog retractable leash. It is 6 feet long. And he loved it. We were outside for quite a while. Sugar Cookie was here when it showed up. And we just hung out outside, me and her trading whatever we were yapping about, lamenting over how stupid sunfishes are. If you don't know, look up Tumblr post sunfish, and you will see a beautiful rant about how goddamn fucking stupid they are. It is fantastic. You will know the post when you see it. Anyway. Anyway, my grievance is about the sunfish aside. He was very happy and we're out there for like a good hour at least. Hold on, I can actually almost perfectly tell you the exact amount we were out there. Because almost immediately after the leash showed up, we went outside. We were out there for an hour. And he was just having fun roaming around. We went around, walked around the whole way. He tried sticking his head underneath the fence because he can barely get under there, and I had to click it, hold it, make sure he didn't. Because you don't need to go to the neighbor's yard. No, you don't. Yeah. Yeah, you old little man. You freaking brat. But he is very content now. And I've gotten to a point, at least, this wasn't like a this started this week thing. It's been so few that we've had good days where I could genuinely go take him out and be out with him for a while, that throughout the several times I had taken him on the leash prior, he's gotten used to it. We can go to the door and he will let me without worry, without messing with what I'm doing. He will let me put the harness on him. It is a harness. This is not a collar. This sits over his head. It's like two strings, like two proper corded, laced up strings that sit around his head. Typical like collar leash material that you'd expect. You split it open so it rests over his head, and then there's going to be two buckles that go around his shoulders, underneath his belly, and around and click up to his back. And then you connect the leash to his back. So it doesn't pull on his neck at all when he goes farther than he's supposed to. It just kind of hunches his shoulders back a little bit. So it's not super bad if he goes lunging forward or lunging in a direction I don't need him to. And Dusty's sticking his tail directly in my lamp. And his tail's already warm from it. No, dude. Are you just trying to warm your tail? What is happening? Okay, he's just trying to warm his tail. Anyway. You know what? We got this. We don't got this. We, in fact, did not got... I'm out of water. That is, in fact, the last of my water. Okay. I am now playing this on hardcore. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. Just downright fantastic. Oh. Oh. It's like searching through the basket of sewing materials, knowing there's needles in there, but you need to find this one specific needle, so you keep poking yourself, hoping that you just might find the specific length and width of needle you need. Because you need something that's just ever so slightly curved. Just an ever so slight curved needle. It's one specific one, you know exactly what it is. It has like a little line etched in the side of it. So you knew you could find it again. And you can't find the goddamn thing because it's in the bottom of the box. And you don't know that it's sat under a flap in the box, because of course it has. And so I'm getting poked over and over as I try and find this needle. It is not a haystack. It is a needle in a box of sewing supplies. It might have been broken. I don't even know if it's still in the box anymore. It wasn't in the box the first time. I'm just hoping I'll actually see it this time. And if I dunk everything out, then I'm really not going to find it, so I might as well keep it in the goddamn box. Clearly Kirby Buckets I found because it got 3 seasons before being cancelled and it was on Disney XD, and for the premiere it got 690,000 viewers for the premiere, so it was heavily liked. Clearly Kirby Buckets? Where are they getting these titles? Who thought? What? You know, there is one show I did like that was popular. It was Dog of Blog. And I remember very specifically going to, I think it was the Disney website, I'm pretty sure this was a Disney show, I remember very specifically going to the Disney website and playing the mini games because they did have a game for Dog of a Blog, and it was a sneaking game where you had to follow and avoid the paths of the people in the house so you could blog. And you had to go do these different tasks and make sure you didn't get caught doing it. But it was just called Kirby Buckets, and then that's how they got killed off. Interesting. I'm just imagining Kirby, like the character, the Nintendo character, with a bucket on its head. And that's all I see. Maybe with the TF2 bucket guy. That's all I'm imagining right now. They're just going around messing up the playing field. It's just Kirby and the bucket guy from TF2, and that's it. And they are completely dismantling all the competition. I want that as a show. That feels like the one meme of like, we gotta kill this guy Fluttershy. Damn it. That feels like it would be one of those pairings. A lot of people were upset it didn't get a 4th season. This has got me curious enough. What the fuck is this? I am so used to being the one that brings up the niche media internet because I have a catalog of Tumblr memes sitting in my brain for some reason. Only searchable by keyword. What the fuck is Kirby Buckets? I had caps lock on. That is not at all what I thought it'd be. Okay. Interesting. For context, if you don't wish to look it up, it is literally just your stereotypical middle school boy TV show, it looks like. And the main cast seemingly being the white boy, slightly off white boy, and like person of color associated, just random black kid. And then a few other things showed a few friends that happened to be girls, and that's all I could see. And it just looked like some weird middle school, oh no, puberty kind of show. But that show is also everywhere on my Twitch account because it's my profile picture and my banner in both my backgrounds and my phone. That's fair. Well. Wells. Bodies of water. I really hope that doesn't become a stem. I really hope. I just walked off the edge. I wasn't even looking. I really hope. Some of the things I say, for some reason I play them on repeat. I stem out of them. So far, the ones I have said randomly on streams that I've stuck have been, come back for your potato. Back at the back. And I can't remember, I feel like there's a method to the madness and it's cranberries. And the method is cranberries. I can't think of any others. There's plenty of other stims I say, but they're not things I've said that I'm like, oh my god, I love that, I'm gonna say that more. I really hope that doesn't become one of them. It didn't even let me jump. Actually, more focused on his weird things he makes coming to life. Fair enough. I don't think I've shared about this on streams. In middle school, I just started selling my goddamn art. I would do doodles of Zentangle. Oh, pardon me, I am sorry about that. Surprised me as much as surprised you. I would make doodles of Zentangles on the back of note cards, like notebook cards, and I started buying specifically the blank ones so I could do this easier. But I would doodle on the back of note cards, I'd do little Zentangles, which is just basically a specific pattern, like niche area of art where you just do specific patterns or repeating patterns in pretty little designs. And I would make bookmarks out of these. And I genuinely sold these to teachers and students. I sold them for like $2 a pop. And people genuinely liked them. I made like $50. Which is a lot in middle school money. Especially back in whatever year this was, like late 2010s. That's a lot to middle school kid money. That's a lot of middle school kid money. Like a weird tiny alien attached to a tiny spaceship. A weird thing with 3 butts. A weird ice wizard looking thing. That's good at guitars in a weird... That's just Ice King. That's Ice King from Adventure Time. A weird thing that's a person but likes punching things. And is stretchy. That sounds like a superhero. A weird character that has a nice mustache and a tentacle beard. Interesting cast. Yeah, there's a fluffy paw on my face. I poked a paw. I know. Do-do-do. 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 You bother my sleep all the time. I'm gonna bother a little bit of yours. There you go. Have some pets. Have some scritches. You're welcome. When parkour get me down, pet cat. That's his white cat tree next to desk. Actually, it's not white, it's because this is his spot and I'm in his space. And in every single thing he made had a voice actor. Oh no. Just randomly John Cena in the cast list or something. I feel like it'd be one of those shows. I feel like it'd be. So much time to wiggle back and forth, only to smack my ass again. Of course. Why else would it be? Why else? Why? What else would we do? What else? What else could possibly be? What else could it possibly be? Have I actually seen anyone finish this? I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually get past me and finish it. I don't think I've seen it happen yet. Also, in a weird cracked out fuck yeah, just looks very wrong in high school that was also broken crooked teeth and wears a cannon helmet or something and has a cape on. That sounds like many characters. I'm thinking specifically of a character they use a lot in the... Oh, what's the name of that company? Hold on. What is the name of this? Creators of Putt Putt. It's not Hullabaloo. Putt Putt. Car. Humongous Entertainment. This sounds like a specific character they used in the Putt Putt series. I can see him in my head. Canon character. There's always a character that has like a cannon hat and crooked teeth. Okay, I guess she doesn't. There is like one from this, but... Cat. You know, I'm like talking my voice hoarse. We are gonna do a quick, very quick little BRB. There is a Wordle for y'all to play while we do. I need to go refill my water bottles. Because I was stupid and like, oh, I finished my first water bottle. It's fine. I'm not going to drink the entire second one throughout stream. The 32-ounce water bottle I have, because both of these are 32 ounces. We'll be right back. You'll have the music and I will be back with all of my water. And probably get rid of my coffee. Okay. Throat far better with more agua. Also, I didn't even realize we're actually really close to my cutoff time where I'm like, okay, if we don't get it by now, I'm just gonna go do the medium route. We're actually really close to that, so I'm gonna say 10 more tries. And then we move over to medium. Which, to be fair, isn't a lot, but we're gonna try. So that's number 1. And I'm gonna try my best to keep up with this. I'm gonna make sure... Yes. Basically, he looks high and zooted out. You gotta have at least one of those characters that's just not quite right. 3. Or that might have been 4. I don't know. Well, I can be happy that we at least got, like, halfway progress. I'm still trying I'm still genuinely trying here. And I genuinely want to try in 7. This is 7. I still want to try and make it, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. Wait. Can I get it all in one go? No. That was 9. This is the last run. Okay. Okay. We gave it a good try. That's why I did most of this. I tried. Why? What? What? I jumped. I'm jumping. I am jumping. I know I've been failing horribly. Pathetically, might I add. At the hard. And I understand that this may seem difficult, but I do not think it difficult. We did this no problem earlier. Oh my god. How is this gonna be my reckoning? I do not believe you. I do not believe you. There we go. That was my thought process. That is what I believed would happen. You just gotta hit your head against every single column, apparently. You just gotta hold on to the columns. Okay. I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done. I did what I wanted. I'm happy. We tried. I am no better. Yet again, the hard mode claims an hour of my life that I will not be getting back. Yeah. 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 Yep. Okay. I'm gonna turn down the music a little bit more. I know it's probably quiet for you guys. My hearing's sensitive as hell for some reason. So that'll be it for this one. I don't know what we're gonna do tomorrow, honestly. I really don't have any particular ideas. I'm half tempted to maybe... I have some, like, bedrock maps. I'm half tempted to maybe do one of those. You know what? We can do Bloom. I really want to do Bloom. That sounds good. I have a really old Minecraft map called Bloom, and we could maybe get it done in the 2 hours? Fish. Hello, Billy Bob. We are just ending, unfortunately. I'm thinking we'll do Bloom tomorrow. It's a Minecraft bedrock map I've had for a while. I think we could probably get it done in the 2 hours, maybe. I don't know if we could fully get it done, but we could at least have some fun doing it. Thank you for the follows today. Thank you, Wolfies Seal for following. Thanks to Milo the Fox Furry for hanging out today. And thank you, Billy Bob, for dropping by. Pumpkin also dropped by earlier, and Wolfie, I appreciate all for that. Thank you, VOD watchers, if you have made it this far. It is fantastic. Thank you very much. We, of course, have the Discord. This is where most of my live notifications go. I'm going to try in the incoming week here to switch around, add some more channels, add some more fun things to do. I kind of want to make a Wordle channel. I really want to make a Wordle channel. That sounds good. I've been liking Wordle a lot lately. I'm gonna do that. I'll add that to my list. Discord has our live notifications. I also have Tumblr and Blue Sky. I am active over on theirs sometimes. I try to be. And I think some stuff gets posted, some like behind the scenes stuff every now and again. I'm like, oh, this is a cool thing that's going on. Live notifications do go up on there as well if you would like prefer that. Whatever you need, whatever works best. There is also TikTok. It exists, I guess. It's the same stuff as YouTube Shorts. Soon here, I'm going to try... This is not going to be a this week thing. This will probably start up next week if I do. We talked a little bit about... You can look up Alpha Gale. I will do that after stream. Yes. Hopefully in the next week here, this will be something that starts up next week, not tomorrow, because I am not going to force myself to get so much of that done at once. I want several days in case I need to deal with a headache first. Hopefully we're going to be bringing up some dual streaming. I wish I could see your reaction to it right now. I want to go do stuff I need to do before I go to bed. Just want to hop in and get my streak. That's fair. I don't know if it really showed it. I did add another community challenge. What did I name that? I had another community challenge I set up. That's a follower goal. Did I set up the community challenge? Yes, I did. Yes. That's right. The colony craft, I'm not colony craft, mine colonies. I want to call it colony craft all the time because that's my thing of it. No, the mod is called mine colonies. Mine colonies and amalgamation. This will be probably starting up next week. We talked about it briefly throughout the stream of doing dual streaming with YouTube. So the YouTube people, it will be a joined chat, hopefully. I'll have to look into everything I need to do, everything I need to get working for all that. I think that's about it. YouTube, the main YouTube, if you type in !YT, it should give you all of it, both of them. There is the main channel. Started playing Pumpkin Panic. Oh, I forgot I had that. It's on my Steam wish list. Or not my wish list, it's my library. I need to actually try that. I have too many things I need to do. I need to put down a list of all... I talked about it. I need to just actually put down a list of media I want. I'm going to put that in my planner. That's what I do immediately after stream. Put it down in my planner for tomorrow. Need to make a media list. !YT has the main channel, which is Mutation CIP. Same here. Pretty much most things, if you want to see if I have it, I have the same username everywhere. I'm very lucky that I can. There is, of course, the main channel that has most of my content. This might go up on there. It depends on what I want to do. It might get thrown in there. Otherwise, there's also the second channel where this VOD will be going. And then variety content or like general second channel stuff gets thrown into there. Oh, something I was thinking about doing, we might do next week, I might randomly do it throughout the week instead of weekend. Because I'm not sure if I want to do this as a scheduled stream day or just random, I'm going to get this work done. I want to redo the MewTuber, my VTuber at some point. So I was thinking about starting that on the streams and just chill out, slowly work through it. And maybe I would put it together as like a supercut of this is how I made Mew's new VTuber. Because I do want to slightly rehaul. He's mostly still correct. Mostly, there's a few odd and ed things that I'm like, I'm not doing this for his character design anymore. Otherwise, he's mostly correct. It's mostly the ears. The ears are wrong and the hair looks a little too flat for my liking. But otherwise, yeah. I think that's it. I'm gonna double check. I don't think I actually checked the first time. Do I know anybody currently streaming? No, I do not. So I think that'll be it. This VOD is good. I did not add the VOD. Did I save a VOD? The last week's VOD? I don't think I saved it. Do I have the PSMP VOD from last week? That might be lost to the ages. Is it? Do I still have access to it? Do I have like 0 hours left to download that? Or is that just gone to the wind? It was literally an hour of me running around. It doesn't matter too much. It is there. I'm gonna click download real quick so I can actually get that uploaded. So I don't forget again. Because I downloaded it to edit it, and then I never actually used that footage. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna delete it, forgetting that I needed to upload the VOD. Anyway. That VOD should be up in the next several days, and then this VOD will be up shortly after that, whenever I get around to making a thumbnail. Otherwise, tomorrow will be a new video up on Mutation CIP, the main YT channel. It's going to be the last episode of Passion SMP, and it's going to include a nice little highlight reel of my favorite moments from the season. And I think officially, that is it. I will see you all in the Discord at 12 p.m. PST when I put out the video. And then again at 7 p.m. PST tomorrow for another stream. So I think with all that said and done, that is actually everything this time. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.